Hey everybody, we are here in the lovely Cascade Mountains, about hour and a half, 2 hours east of Seattle at Stevens Nordic Center. Right now I'm wearing two different sorts of footwear. On my right foot is a discontinued model from Merrell. It's a all leather, full grain, mountaineering / backpacking boot, the kind you would use to take a trip of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And on my left foot is a pair of dive booties I got when I got certified for scuba diving. They're 6.5 millimeter versus the full grain leather. In the interest of full disclosure, for those of you who live the barefoot lifestyle, this does have a raised heel, but there are plenty available without a raised heel. The main reason I'm making this video is to compare the warmth between the two. They're equally as warm. I have the same socks on both pairs, under both pairs of shoes, on both feet. I have a Smartwool and a fleece sock on under both of them. Obviously the pants are the same on both legs, and the gaiters are to make sure I don't get any water underneath the cuffs. They're great, aren't they? They're my dad's old gaiters. And despite the dive boot being only neoprene, it's actually just as warm. The leather boot can be a little warmer at the beginning of the activity, but once you get going, and even if you stop, they're about the same. There's some variation between the two, up or down both ways, but on the whole, they're about as warm as each other. So neoprene dive boots can be used for snowshoeing boots. One thing to keep in mind with a lot of mountaineering boots or hiking boots, the laces keep your feet from sliding forward so that your toes hit the end of the toe box. With a dive boot, you often don't have laces. But what you do have is more flexibility. With a full grain boot, you are on the risk of damaging your toes. With a dive boot, the neoprene has a lot more give. So even if your toes hit the end of the toe box in a dive boot on a steep descent like that, admittedly this is a short one, it's going to give more, it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Additionally, where you'd find the laces on a typical backpacking or hiking boot, the neoprene boot is going to be tight around the ankle. It's going to prevent water intrusion when you're underwater, and you want that tightness to act like the laces would on a normal boot to keep your foot from sliding forward. So I just gave you a little bit of advice on how to come down a steep slope. Going up, the dive boot offers one interesting characteristic. It's flexible. Even with a built-up boot like this one, with a rubber sole more like a tennis shoe sole, you can curl your toes around the end of the little climbing claw that your foot is on inside the snowshoe bindings. So you end up being able to curl your toe around and get a lot of feel for how well you're dug in and a lot of grip, because you're basically curling your toes over like you would on like a surfboard, for example. So you can climb the hill and kind of feel the hill, if you get what I mean.